This podcast is brought to you by Pragmatic Play, a leading game developer providing player favorites to the most successful brands across the industry. With an award-winning multi-product portfolio of slots, live casino, bingo, virtual sports, and more, Pragmatic Play is powering up new possibilities of play through one single API. Visit pragmaticplay.com and discover your favorite every time.
Hey everyone, and welcome to our latest video podcast of the iGaming Next North American division, our bi-weekly look at everything going on in the world of sports and talking with some of the most interesting and important figures that are helping to kind of explain, grow, develop, and change our beloved gaming industry here with it. Very fortunate to be joined today by Zach Doctor of WagerWire, who is, again, one of these companies that I think is going to help shake up and change the future of sports betting. We're going to talk about more and more about this during our podcast here, but it's kind of crazy to think, Zach, that I think that the money line spreads and all that, well, that's old news. We're looking at the future, but I think you guys are going to be a big part of it. Zach, tell me what exactly is WagerWire?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And just thanks for having me on as well. Really excited that you're bringing the pod back, and always been a huge fan of you personally, the content you put out, and then also iGaming Next. We're already gearing up to come out to the conference in March. So
all right, even better, yeah.
Yeah. And then so awesome. So WagerWire is a innovative marketplace for active sports bets. So we've basically developed this marketplace technology that allows you to be able to sell your sports bet before the end of the game, before the end of the season, and really create this liquid marketplace around previously placed sports bets. So this is where you bet with your favorite operator, you put that future before the season, or you put the money line before the game started, and at halftime or halfway through the year, your team's doing well. You want to kind of cash in or capitalize on that profit that your bet is actually holding. We're creating that marketplace where you can sell that at a fair market value. And we're doing it a little bit differently in that we're partnering with sportsbook operators, and we actually also have a B2B plugin of this technology so that a sportsbook operator could have bet trading going on right in their sportsbook app. Wow. And we also have the WagerWire app that's going to have bets from all of our partners trading on it, kind of like an aggregated marketplace.
Wow. And so I guess the concept has kind of been around for a long time, the secondary market, the rudimentary one of it. But this is, I'm thinking back in the day, almost like 10 years ago in Las Vegas, you had maybe a future, you had a little bet slip, and you wanted to cash in, and you thought your team was, whatever, see if you get a deal with it. I'm thinking even on like an eBay or whatever, not that it would happen. Mm-hmm. This is now, but it's not just a season long or anything like that. These are bets from in-game, essentially. I mean, the turnaround could be, instead of maybe weeks or months on an old future you placed 6 months ago, this could be really honestly within minutes, right?
That's exactly right. Once you set this up and you have it integrated with sports books, you can do real-time trading during the game. That really changes what this offering truly is, right? What it gives you is access to fair market prices for your bets at any time. It's also one of the big pain points in the industry that people are starting to catch on to, is that the sportsbooks did roll out this cash out feature where they would try to buy your bet back from you at a heavy discount. And now people are starting to catch on that the offers they're giving are just not fair, and they're really almost borderline predatory a lot of the times. We're talking 50 cents on the dollar, 60 cents on the dollar. We've actually seen examples go as low as 30 cents on the dollar for parlays and things like that. So all we're really talking about here is kind of a fundamental economic principle, is that if I own an asset, I own a bet, that's my property, I should be able to sell that. I shouldn't be locked into this all or nothing decision where I either let it ride, or I take this big vig on the cash out offer, or maybe I try to hedge it like a more traditional solution. You put a big bet on the other side. Those are all just kind of antiquated solutions, I think, and just not really getting to what the users want. And then this creates all sorts of new trading opportunities where you can be trying to buy low and sell high on bets. And maybe you don't think that team's going to win necessarily, but you think the odds are wrong and you think they're going to start strong. This gives you another way to kind of play on those, savvier takes you might have around how the performance is going to be relative to the spread.
Right, and so it's a true market environment instead of your only option to cash out. And some of these even before the game, you'll see if I place let's say a $25 bet, sometimes they'll do cash outs before the game for $20 or $19 or something. The cash out ratio is sportsbooks are guiding their hold there too. So it opens that up as well. But so great opportunity with it. But you guys also, part of what you're trying to do is differentiate yourselves as well through just these different partnerships, different outreaches. So I know, Wager, based out of Tennessee, right? I think you have a couple other sportsbook partnerships, right? Is there any more you can talk about, or things you're working also? Again, kind of different ways with it, but you're working directly with the sportsbooks for some more opportunities as well, right, for bettors?
That's right. So that is really how we see this playing out, is that this should be both a marketplace on its own, but it also is this partnership with the sportsbooks, really. It's this kind of extension of the sportsbook experience. Mm-hmm. We aren't saying, stop betting at DraftKings, stop betting at FanDuel and bet with us. You should keep betting with your favorite books. There's no reason you should change what you're doing, but this gives you that next step. Now, you could actually you could tap into that kind of unrealized profit of your bet, or maybe you want to cut your losses and, it's actually like a downside insurance thing where your team's not looking so good and you just want to get your $30 back.
Sure.
But we are really excited about these partnerships that we have going on that we've been able to announce recently. Wager being one of them we announced before the end of the year. Great team over there, really excited for what they're doing. We align a lot on our views of kind of taking this sports betting experience into being more social and interactive and doing different things and doing different things with the product that actually drive that, and not just being, just speaking to it. And then we also recently announced a deal with Sparkit, who is a really interesting new betting platform where you can bet on anything in a pari-mutuel format. And then we've got a couple others coming down the pipe as well. Actually, there's going to be a really big name announced shortly that we're starting to work with. One of the real top guys, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay. And, there's kind of a domino theory too. I think sometimes your bigger operators are a little more cautious when you have things that are different. But again, if one of the big guys jumps in, I think that kind of leads to others. That's exciting stuff for you guys. Tell me, again, Sparkit. I actually saw your press release. I did a little bit of research, did a post here on iGamingNext.com, which, side note, of course, everyone should check out for all the latest coverage on the gaming industry, including WagerWire and all the different companies. Explain to me more exactly what they are. They seem like a fascinating idea.
Yeah, they really are a fascinating company, and just a really good group of people over there, too, that we met actually locally here in LA at a startup event around here. And turns out there's another sports betting tech company right here in our backyard. So we immediately became friends and started working together, and just seeing how our products can really interact. And it's kind of like a 1 + 1 = 3 situation where their whole platform is a pari-mutuel platform to basically create markets on anything you want. If you wanted to just bet on which one of your friends is going to run the fastest 5K this weekend, they can actually stand up a market, and there's not really a house in pari-mutuel, right? It's like horse racing where it's just pool betting.
Yeah.
So it's really, the money goes into the different picks based on how much money there is on each option. That just kind of outlays the odds. And so what they're actually doing is they're kind of on this forefront of getting into more interesting and unique markets. They're not always, on totally random events. You can also do one on just, which quarterback's going to have the most yards this weekend in the NFL, and it can just be kind of like an interesting way to do different styles of props and things like that. And then where we come in is that they don't really have, an ability to cash out your bet or something like that, right? Because there's not really a house. It's this pari-mutuel format.
Yeah.
But then what happens is when the event starts and they kind of lock the pari-mutuel odds, when the horses run out of the gates and your ticket now becomes fixed, that is when the aftermarket opens up. And that's when WagerWire comes into play. And if you wanted to, in that NFL example, if you had the QB that's way ahead after the morning games on Sunday, you might want to sell out of your bet. And so we come in there as the aftermarket solution. Almost could think of it as like a peer-to-peer cash out at the end of the day. So I think it's actually definitely one of those scenarios where the combination of our products really turns into something like unique and interesting. And I think that same kind of idea could be applied to other pari-mutuel markets too, like horse racing or anything else.
To me, that concept is so interesting, and not that this happened, of course. That my friends were at a bar one night, and the next two of us got in an argument about who could run the fastest 5K, and we went to a local middle school track and did that the next morning when everyone was hungover. Not that that's an actual story that happened to me and my friends, but it'd be so interesting because we were all, and of course, not that we would have bet money on who was going to win the race, but that would have been such an interesting thing if there was a platform that we could be able to do that. Of course, not that happened. So that's really interesting. I want everybody to check that out too. It's just such a cool idea looking at this because it can be, as they say, it can be anything, and then adding on that extra layer. I like that analogy. 1 + 1 = 3 with it. So it's a lot of cool stuff. Where again, you guys are not just that 10 in your ticket from a future bet, and see what it's a lot of these things with it too. But you're also doing a lot of different multimedia type stuff, right? The gaming society, which is kind of working on better education and empowerment. I want to find out also more about kind of them specifically. I know that's been a big deal for you guys, but also maybe some of your other multimedia type things that you guys are doing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that is important to bring up because what's kind of interesting about what we have going on at WagerWire is we have this marketplace and this technology focused, kind of product focused side of the business, and then we have this media side and this community and this kind of social media side of the business as well. And that's where our partnership with Gaming Society is really focused on, is this kind of growth of the community. We love what they're doing over there. Jamie Messler is awesome, and really the just like fresh take that they're bringing to this around the betting academy, also their Bet on Women initiatives. I really think it's just kind of something that's been much needed in the industry. And now we're actually exploring ways where there could even be, bringing some of their content into our app and onto our website and things like that. Like they really have some of the best, betting 101 kind of content for people who are just getting their feet into it. And I think it actually is a really good partnership because, you might think of WagerWire as more for like the savvier bettors, but I actually think, and we found that in our community, there's a lot of people that are new to the space and kind of just, they're big sports fans and they really found this interesting. And maybe they were intimidated when they opened a sports betting app because it was this like matrix effect of grid of numbers and minus this and plus that. And it's just like, what is an over under and a money line and all of this, that we actually think a secondary market experience could be more intuitive actually for some people who are totally new to this. When you can just look at a bet and say, oh, this has an A+ deal score. It's looking good. It's a 5x multiplier. It's not a plus 500. And you can actually think of it kind of with a fresh take. So we're actually, really excited for this partnership and kind of combining forces and being part of this, onboarding of a lot of new people into the space. And then obviously once they get their feet wet and they learn how it's working, then they're going to open their eyes to all the kind of cool utility that something like WagerWire can bring to the table.
Yeah, and again, I talked at the beginning of the show how point spreads and money lines are, that's the past and we're looking towards the future, which is true. But I say that in the context of that what we're looking at now is people who want to bet are going to bet. And, before 2018, the Supreme Court decision, the opening up sports books, like, people were betting. That's the entire point. It's something that what we're looking for, and it's the idea of getting you from your offshore site, from your bookie, whatever, to these regulated ideas. And there's a lot of benefit to that. The taxes go in state, you have more consumer protection, and so on and so forth with it. But I think while that is kind of cementing itself, that I use Sportsbook X or Sportsbook Y. I'm a sports bettor. I also think that we are missing an entire chunk of would-be bettors, sports fans, what have you, that are intimidated by the lingo and everything with it. And I had another example, just a friend here who was a doctor, actually pun intended, with it. And he just is trying to explain it because we're looking out and he's like, could you explain to me, point spreads and wait, what do you mean it's minus 240 plus 180? What does that mean? And even then, this guy's very smart. It took him a long time to kind of understand what's going on with it and the examples and then the different styles with it. So there is so much still that needs to be done. I think that having that, that bridge, that help with it. It's, the old school days of going to a sports book and a casino and all that. I get that's intimidating. That really is when you have no idea what's going on with it. Even in Las Vegas, the different table games, I know I'm going on and on here, but like Pai-Gow or what have you. These are different games that are really cool looking. But I'm intimidated. I'm not going to go up to that because I don't want to look like an idiot. This is why with the online aspect of it and these well done resources like what you guys have with the Gaming Society, that then, again, with those quote-unquote old school bets, there is that opportunity where it's an easy access, it's an easy way to explain it, and people who, otherwise were just, I didn't even think about it because they didn't want to look like a fool, it does open up that bridge there, and I think that's an important part. It's, again, another whole separate piece of what you guys are doing, which is on top of everything else. I don't think I can stress enough how important these resources are.
100%. Couldn't agree more. I think we all take it for granted being in this industry, what a spread is and what the odds actually are. But it is confusing for people, and I actually think that there's this intimidation a little bit because it's also real money on the line. And I think also this younger generation that's coming up that's just getting exposed to this stuff and kind of coming of age to where they could download these apps. There definitely needs to be a little bit more of an education focus and a responsible gaming focus, and that could just ensure a more sustainable, long-run industry, really, at the end of the day. I think a lot of the industry has kind of been in this mode for a long time where they're just trying to separate people from their money as fast as they can. And I just don't think that's the right attitude. I think when you see in other tech verticals, companies are willing to lose money to win a customer. That is something that the books have been doing actually as they got aggressive on customer acquisition. But I think there's this really interesting opportunity, and we're trying to actually, put our like actions behind this and not just be words. When we're rolling out our app later this quarter, there's going to be a free-to-play marketplace where you can just play around with chips. And then that's going to be available in all 50 states. And you can just play with chips and buy bets and sell bets and kind of learn how this system's going to work and understand the ins and outs of it. And you can compete for prizes. There's going to be tournaments and there's going to be prizes and upside that you can get. But I actually think that's going to be a really powerful tool for us, and something that also allows us to kind of mobilize our whole base and our social media community, because they're not just in a single state, right? And so when you think about launching a sports betting product and the prospects of just going into a single state to start out, it doesn't really make a ton of business sense. So we're rolling this out as a free to play in all 50 states, and then we'll be turning on the real money trading kind of state by state and book by book as we go.
Gotcha. Great stuff. Exciting with that there too. I do kind of pivoting to the original thing and tying it all back together with it. I think this is the future now of what we're looking at. Is there's going to be more social interaction, the younger demographics with it, the micro betting, the explanations, the odds, and everything else with it. It's kind of a broad, larger question, but from a very macro, looking big on it. This is your chance, Zach, to look. What is your just kind of idea on the future of what the next 5 years of sports betting looks like in America, and then kind of side question with it. What is your company's role in that?
Absolutely,
I know there's a lot there, with a lot of different ways we can go with it.
Right, a lot to unpack, but I think you're dead on about how we're really entering this like next chapter of the industry, kind of this evolution, this phase 2, right? The first 5 years was everyone just scrambling to stand up their products. It was 2018 when PASPA overturned, but then COVID hit in 2020, and then all these, hospitality companies kind of woke up and realized they got to get tech savvy. They got to get like good products out there as quick as they can, because the demand is really on the online and mobile side. And you've got these casinos that are jumping in and figuring that out. Now I think we're in kind of phase 2, where I think the more innovative and interesting and just better products are going to rise to the top. We love micro betting. I think what Joey Levy and Jake Paul are doing over there at Better is super, super cool, super interesting. We're actually really proud to have Joey in our seed round. He was one of our supporters for the WagerWire seed round. I actually think there's a lot of parallels to what we're doing at WagerWire with what Simplebet did in the early days, where they kind of pioneered this new space, this new vertical. And then, once they kind of broke through with 1 or 2 books, now it seems like every book is rushing to get that. I think there's going to be a similar type of domino effect with the secondary market, and this kind of evolution of your normal bets into being tradable and exchangeable.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a lot of other interesting stuff going on. There is this kind of like new guard of young startups that are coming up and come in with interesting takes. Wager being another, Sparkit being another, and a bunch of others out there. So I'm really excited personally about what this is going to be, and how you can now be betting on every play to trading in and out of futures all season. Like, you really have this full menu of options. And then as a company, I would love for WagerWire to be this kind of integrated hub for a lot of your betting activity. Yeah. Once we're plugged in with all the books, really, we should be your first stop if you're looking for the type of bet that would be on our platform. We're not going to be on the micro betting type of stuff. So if you're looking for something that's, even a spread or a money line or an over under or a future or a parlay, we're going to have the sharpest odds on the bets that we do have on the site, because this is the secondary market. It's going to be cheaper odds than you're going to get on a consensus line. So I actually think that WagerWire should be your first stop as a bettor. Maybe you don't see the bet you like, then just head over to one of our partner books and place it in the primary market, by all means. But I think we can just kind of sit in this spot where we're generating, we're driving utility for the bettors, and then we're also a service to the sports books, in that they can kind of outsource this type of technology development and leave that to us, and they can just keep running their core businesses too.
Yeah, I think that maybe if there's one big thing with it, what Better does and all that too, it's these prop bets and these smaller bets, these micro bets, the pun intended with it. Those existing because they have, for the sports books, they like them. They can have higher VIGs, they can have higher prices with it. Because again, those traditional point spread, money lines, all that, those are, the sharp bettors are hunting, and that makes a big difference. But for the average bettor, they're not. Those are the same things. It's these prop bets that they can do, and then it's stacking them. It's the single game parlays, which I think are the biggest innovation of the last 12 months or so, because those are higher margins and people love them. I work in the industry. I know single game parlays are sucker bets, and I love placing them because they're fun with it. And it's always like your team or whatever, and it's like, oh, I know this team's going to do. I know exactly what's going to happen. They never hit, but you know. So you have that, and then again on top of it too, you have that option because these bets are so diverse. It's not, okay, here's a Buffalo Bills future, here's a 49ers future, here is, Eagles cover bet, whatever in the secondary market. It's maybe these are more exotics. It's these 12 leggers, and someone goes, wait a minute, maybe something is going to work with this, and it creates all these different, they compound on each other. And I think that's where a lot of what we're going to look at is all of the the first few years we kind of going down the same road. Now we have so many more options, and it's just how, what these more options available. I think that a lot of it's going to be the companies that are best able to understand, disseminate, educate, have a good interface to make it easy for people to consume these in very different ways, because that is what we're going for. It's not someone sitting and hoping that their bet hits, even a 3-hour game, hoping your one $25 point spread bet hits. It's going to be sitting through the 3-hour game, but you might have 10 $10 bets on all these different things going on with it, and how those are interacted with, promoted, talked about, traded potentially. I think that's what we're looking at. I think you guys are going to be a big part of it.
Yeah, that just gets me excited just hearing you talk about that as a bettor myself, But I think you're exactly right, and that's what we're here to try to drive and try to become, the industry we want this to be, basically. And yeah, I think it is going to be just a totally different experience. We have been seeing different companies try out different things. Frankly, I was a little surprised to see Fubo, kind of shut it down. They actually had kind of this interesting take of like the in-game experience with the screen. And then pretty soon later, you see Caesars actually start bringing in streaming into their app. So I feel like some of these concepts, maybe it's not always the player that like tries it out first, but that ends up kind of winning with it. But a lot of these things are going to end up really just evolving the sports betting experience. And we think that we can be in a good spot to, drive this forward, help our sportsbook partners innovate, because a lot of them see that they should be, and they know that there's like this demand for new things like the secondary market or for micro betting. But they have limited bandwidth. They're companies too, and they've got bureaucracies to go up the chain and get things approved and do and roadmaps to contend with and all of that. So we, as a nimble tech company, can really be kind of on the forefront, the tip of the spear of trying out new things and adding new features and different things and rolling those out. And then our sportsbook partners can benefit from that. So I think we're in a good position to kind of be a little bit of like a picks and shovels kind of thing here, where we can be, B2B with the sportsbooks. But then with our model, it's just critical to be out there and actually be a brand and be consumer facing too, because you need a lot of buyers and a lot of sellers to really get this thing to be what we want it to be. And so you can't really just like sit back and, sell this software into a sportsbook purely as a white label and expect it to really succeed. You have to actually be out there kind of driving the education around this new concept, getting people to be aware of it. And then I think the sky's the limit. We're really excited to see this next 5 years play out.
Yeah, it's really crazy the last 5 years. I joined the industry right in conjunction with the Supreme Court decision, so and it was spring 2018, and we were just so flabbergasted, just the idea. There's going to be sports betting in New Jersey now. There's somewhere outside Nevada and in Pennsylvania, a couple other states, and we were just blown away. And I don't think I even realized and appreciated what was going on with the sports books themselves. And you think back then, almost all of them were using a third-party tech supplier, usually the same one. They were just so rudimentary in what those sports books actually were. It's kind of crazy to look back now. And now all your major operators are going in-house with their own tech, even some of the smaller ones. That is the future with it. And it's just all about creating these customizable bets. It's all about these micro bets. It's all about the new platforms and innovations. And you go from single game parlay to single game parlay pluses and stuff like that. And, again, 5 years ago, it's so funny that we were just thrilled that we would just have point spread, money line, and maybe a few props or what have you. So it really is cool to see this. And I think technology goes typically at an exponential curve. The progress we've seen in 5 years is incredible, and I think 5 years from now we're going to be stunned, Zach, looking back at this and going, maybe we undershot it. Things are, we're in the metaverse or whatever, and who knows, who knows what's going on with it. So, Zach, so many exciting things going on with it. Again, we're happy to have you on the podcast. I think you guys are going to be on the forefront of it. Old Wayne Gretzky quote, go where the puck is going, and I think this is going to be it. So thank you so much for joining us. Always appreciate it. Best of luck. I know it's going to be a huge year for you guys when I think America is really going to be able to understand your product. You've already gotten some big things going on in 2022, but 2023 is, I think, we're going to be looking at a year from now and going, oh, wow, okay, WagerWire is increasingly becoming a household name. So it's great stuff, Zach, and I really appreciate you jumping on.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the kind words. We're excited for this. It's a big year, right? We're rolling out the app this quarter. Yep. So there's not a whole lot of more time in the quarter. So you can imagine it's coming soon. I would encourage anyone who is curious to go to the website, WagerWire.com. You can put in your email and be notified when it's hitting the App Store. Basically pre-register. Also jump in the community. We've got this really engaged community on Twitter at WagerWire. We're doing Twitter Spaces shows 7 days a week. We've had you on one before, right? Or I guess maybe I came on yours.
Yeah, I gotta jump. It's been a while. I gotta jump back on one of those. It's great, man. Yeah, I remember when you first told me you did. I do one a week, and I'm like, oh, I gotta. You guys do 7 a week. That's crazy. I mean, but it's great though. Everyone is engaged. You have a much more interactive Twitter Spaces audience, and that clearly is going to correlate to everything else. So yeah, absolutely, guys, check out that too. And then please, as you hinted, we love the shameless pitch there. iGaming Next America Conference in New York. It is going to be the second weekend of March. It is in the same. We are in Manhattan, Times Square, and it is the same week as the Big East tournament. So a great opportunity to double dip if anybody's interested in doing that as well. And please, continue to check us out at iGamingNext.com. Myself at Butler Bets on Twitter. Zach, what's your handle?
I'm WagerWire CEO on Twitter. You can find me there.
There you go.
And then, at WagerWire is the main account. Big shout out to all of our creators and the community as well. It's really them who are powering these spaces and making everything happen. So we'd love to have you on again, Ryan. Maybe we do that later this quarter as we're rolling out.
Definitely, Zach. We'll let that up and figure it out. So looking forward to that. Again, thank you for your time, guys. And everyone, thank you for listening. Have a great week, and we will be back 2 weeks from now. Thanks, Zach, and thanks everybody else. See you then, guys. Take care.